The forces of wokeism are nothing if not tenacious. They don't sit around waiting for an election so they can implement their grand utopian dreams. They infiltrate all types of institutions and alter them from within to suit their purposes. They long ago took over our education system, which has for decades been churning out generations of kids brainwashed into thinking Western civilization is oppressive, that human activity is destroying the planet, and that gender was dreamed up by children's authors selling fairy tales. Now they're taking over the world's boardrooms. Some of the biggest companies in the world are now run by people with messianic complexes about their duty to reshape global society. The executives with the most temptation to impose their political opinions on their business decisions are the ones who run investment or superannuation funds. The only product these executives are selling is the return they achieve from the investments they have under management. They know a certain section of their clients will be happy to see lower returns if the investments are in woke projects that will supposedly save the planet from destruction. As for the other investors, well, as long as the returns hit a reasonable rate, few of them will complain or even notice. Well, that's the theory anyway. Across the United States, state governors and attorneys general are fighting back against this corporate wokeness, banning funds that don't adhere to their fiduciary duties. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis recently said, quote, "We want to stop these masters of the universe from trying to do through economic power what they can't achieve at the ballot box," unquote. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brovnich has said the preoccupation these funds have with ESG, or environment, social and governance, the holy trinity of corporate wokeism, is, quote, "destroying the American dream," unquote. Well, one Australian who's been looking into this is Campbell Newman, the former Queensland Premier who's now with the Liberal Democrats. Campbell, welcome back to the show.
Great to be with you again, Fred.
Now let's start with the extent of ESG. How common is it for executives to allow woke politics to affect their decisions?
Well, I'm afraid I think it's in Western countries now, mate, it's pervasive. It's certainly here in Australia, and I know we'll talk about that in more detail. You just referred to the United States, but it's clearly there in Western Europe and in the United Kingdom. So this has been sort of bubbling along for probably 2 decades now. And now these people who've, I suppose, grown up with this are in positions of significant power. And they've got power, Fred, because they actually have the money. And they are actually using that sort of financial power now to direct play. But as you've said, there are various jurisdictions in the United States, at last count that I saw, about 19 different states, who are pushing back. And it's interesting to note whether anybody in Australia will do that. And I'm sure you want to talk about that.